So, okay, we'll call the meeting to order. The first agenda item is the operational committee minutes from December 5th, 2016. Hopefully a chance to read them. We'll take consensus, starting with Shawna.
Yes.
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 And yes, thank you. Moving on to the cafeteria report for December 2017.
Good evening, board members. Before you, you have the report that was prepared by Ed and myself, and it reviews the operations for the cafeteria. As I've always said, I have two priorities. Priorities are the children that we serve every day and also the fiscal responsibilities of the program. As far as I'm concerned, what we try to do is make sure that our income is always above our expense averages, and that's where we're at right now. Currently, of course, we are still operating at a loss because of the fact during that month we had a net loss of the month only of around $6,638.90. However, just so for the board's information, we had a net loss at the same period last year of $32,978.00. We're keeping on top of everything. I've been visiting all the schools, and I'd be happy to entertain any of the questions that you might have at this time.
Any questions? Yes, Jay.
Yeah, thanks. So Alan, the year-to-date, that's on. Howdy. So the year-to-date profit or loss is how much?
Oh, one more time, Jay, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The year-to-date December, so what's that, July 1st through December?
Mm-hmm.
How do we stand? What's the profit or loss for the 6-month period?
If you look on the sheet that says cafeteria operations, we stand at
Let's see, it's two of them,
$46,217.
It looks like the Excel spreadsheet. No, there's one back before that.
This one?
Yeah,
Yes.
that one.
I believe that's it.
This
And the
one.
previous year, we were at $98,845.30.
So it's a
17.
$46,000 loss.
That's right.
Correct.
Without counting the subsidy.
Subsidy from the Board of Ed.
Board of Ed, right.
Which was 38,000.
Right, if you count that, then the losses are about,
Oh, that's what that is.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
different. Okay. Oh, okay, that's what,
That was paid before
got you.
the
So,
end.
so it's 46,000 without the loss, without the subsidy.
Without the subsidy.
6,000 without. Do you have any projection as to,
Well, we could probably get a real strong figure after January.
Gotcha.
Of course, we could predict it, but, you know,
Okay.
down the road, anything could really happen. Currently, the way I look at it is if you look at your average per day and your expense per day, if you stay above it with the income, you should be pretty safe.
stay up?
However, you must remember last year, at the end of the year, several items were added, which created a much larger loss. We do not anticipate any retirements or any people withdrawing from the pension that would affect us largely this year. This year, when we hit June, the June figures should be about average.
Gotcha. So on a month-to-month basis, you're thinking you'll be positive?
I
Is that what
would,
you said above the,
as so far I've been staying that way, right?
so like for this past month, if I'm reading this right, it was about we had revenue of 165,000, we had expenses of 171, so we had about a $6,000 loss.
That also puts money into inventory, which, you know, I have a philosophy, if the bill comes in and pay it, and we're current and we paid up to date on all our bills, so there's probably some inventory in the house. Once we turn it into sales, we'll turn it to the profit side.
Gotcha.
and
Thanks.
also, December was not, you know, with Christmas
Yeah,
and all
that's right.
that, it's a smaller month than the others. That's why January is a long month.
And there are certain days that hurt us. At the high school level, for instance, if they have a shortened day, we do not serve. We have exams coming up, so there'll be a couple shortfalls in January. Even with that being said, I feel pretty positive January's figures will be much better than they were in the past.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. So last year, at this point in time, we had a deficit of 98,000,
Correct.
and now we have a deficit of 46,000. So you've basically cut our deficit in half.
And that does not include the board subsidy at 38,000, so it would
Right.
be much less.
On
than
either
that.
side, I'm assuming.
Right,
Right. Okay, awesome. Keep it up.
Just, if I could remind everyone that at the next operations meeting in February, Alan's going to provide us with those projections for the end of the year, because at that operations meeting, you were deciding as a board whether or not you were going to go forward with going out to bid for food services. So the goal was that at that meeting, Ed has been working with the town. He had a meeting with the town and the state to firm up everything on the application process if you did choose to move forward, so that we're on the same page. That application will be ready to go by that meeting, because that was your charge to us, was to make sure the application was ready. But at that meeting, you will take consensus on whether or not to move forward with that.
When we met with the state before Christmas, they have agreed to do the exceptions that we want. We want 2 exceptions, to open up one envelope with all of the qualifications, and the second envelope is the financials. So they have agreed to that. I'm meeting with the purchasing on Thursday, so we get those in line until the state sends us their updated contract, which they haven't sent us. I spoke to them again today. So looks like the state, we had 2 people from the state. One was the head honcho.
Right. Begins with an F.
Yeah,
John
John F.
Fred.
John F., whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frazanelli,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
And they were very helpful. They were very conciliatory to us and agreed to do our, what we want.
Yeah,
So it's good.
it was a really well-organized meeting, and we got a lot accomplished in that meeting.
Yeah.
And Ed is, and I have to say, I do get a lot of cooperation from Ed in his office, and that's something, when I came in last year, was a little misgiving. I believe the food director, if he has good contact with the business office, we can get a lot done, and that's why there's also something else on the agenda that Ed would be approving the claims for the food service department after I submit them.
Any other questions of food service right now? Can we make sure we have is the fund balance on here? didn't
Yeah,
see that.
I do
Where
have
is
it right
that?
here. I'll give it to you, and I'll make sure I get copies to the board. Also, the expenditure sheet for the month.
Okay, all right, thank you. Where is the fund?
As you can see, we haven't touched the 119,000.
Yeah,
So.
okay, it's still in there, okay.
We've been having a tremendous cash flow, and what's happening, we have that meal pay system, and we get money every week put into the student's account, which means there's less cash at the registers that the students go through the line. Makes it much more convenient, not only for the student and for us, but also convenient for the parent.
All set? Okay, take consensus on the cafeteria reports, starting with Shawna.
Yes.
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 Sorry I'm late, yes.
And yes, thank you very much, Al.
Thank you.
Okay, as Alan mentioned, discussion and possible consensus to revise the authorized signatures on the ED 099 agreement for child nutrition programs. Is Alan or Ed can take that? You gonna take
I think the 3 of us, I think that, as Alan just said, and I think this is a tribute to the hard work of Ed and the collaboration between Alan and Ed that now exists between food services and business. We have not been in a position to do this in the past, and this is a traditional role of a business manager to take on such responsibilities. So it's nice to be able to have that opportunity this evening to bring forward to you, having Ed be one of the signers, or the certifiers, rather, I should say, because in the interim, I've been having the opportunity of doing that. Anything you want to add to that?
No, just so that you know, Sean used to be the signer on the form. He was also the designated official, a determining official. In other words, if there was a problem, a hearing official, if there was a problem with a claim, Ed also agreed to take on that responsibility, and that's in the event that a person questions whether they should be free or reduced, and then we would refer it to Ed. That does not need board authorization, and that has already been okayed by the State Department of Ed. And they just said, bring this before the board, which we have, and we just need your consensus on it, and we will forward it to them. and they will officially make Ed the second signer. Of course, Dr. Menzel being the first signer on our claims. The claims that we produced during the course of the year, I would roughly say, are in the neighborhood of $800,000.
Any questions in regards to that? Sir? Okay. Take consensus to revise the authorized signature in the ED 099 agreement for child nutrition program, starting with Shauna.
Yes.
Yes.
Once Michael signs it.
Yes.
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 And yes, thank you very much. Moving on to the Board of Education financial report for December 2016. Ed.
Yep. As you can see, our financial forecast, our designated surplus is declining. One, because of tuition, and I'll go over those items. Just to let you know, we met today with Rob and his staff to really look at one of the questions that we've had is the in-district special ed transportation. And can we, the wrong word, manipulate routes so that tutoring, going to two different schools at two different times, can we put them on one bus and so forth? But really keep the PPT and IEP correct so that we do not fall under any laws that are not right. So we went over that, and we think we can do something in the next couple of weeks of reducing some of the in-district special ed buses to put kids on. We have to look at it a little further.
If I could just comment. We're looking at consolidating our in-district programming routes where possible without compromising program integrity for our students. We believe that there are some possibilities to consolidate some runs. We started those conversations again today. Our meeting had to end abruptly, so we're gonna continue that. We're gonna reschedule and get back together to look at options.
Yeah. But we're very hopeful that if we can do it this year, then we can forward those savings to next year. So it's,
Yeah, I do think are some opportunities for us to consolidate where we can realize on the savings without it impacting programming at all. And it was nice to meet with Ed and Marianne, and then me and my entire team got to meet. So we were looking at individual routes and student programs, so it was a nice collaborative effort.
Roxanne.
Yeah, thanks. Bless you. Wow, that's a good group. Do you guys, I don't mean to put you on the spot, so if you don't know, it's fine. Have a sense of what we're talking about for savings?
well,
Is
we.
it premature, and I'm fine if
It's
it is,
premature,
and
but
I'm fine with that.
just let me give you some options that we have. We spend probably last year 1.6 million, this year probably 1.7 million on in-district special ed transportation. If we can cut, 10%, a couple of vans, a van is $40,000. If we can consolidate some routes without hurting the kids or without hurting their IEPs, we're looking at it. I think what it is that there are three different sections of special ed, and now we're getting them all together so they can see each child where they're going. Before, maybe they didn't see that. So we're all together looking at the child. Where's that child is going to, the elementary, well, can we put them on there and so forth. So it's opening, so everybody's in place, so it's easier to do it when everybody's there and they're looking at each child, and we're gonna have a list of every child, where they are and so forth,
Right.
so.
So what are we looking at for timelines for trying to get our arms around that?
Well, we're gonna have another meeting next week, and
Yeah.
then,
So in the next couple weeks,
Yeah.
kind of, so it'll evolve as the budget process evolves for
Our
us.
goal, as I shared with the board already last meeting, on last Tuesday night, is that our goal is that with the budget, we'd like to try to have as many decisions made by January 25th.
Right.
So we will have, at that meeting, at the very least, an update on our insurance numbers,
Mhm.
which we anxiously await,
Mhm.
and then an update on this. so that then hopefully the budget could be as close to complete as possible. Spending most of our time at the end of the process rather than at the beginning of the process, because it is such an interesting year.
Thank you.
Yes, Jay?
Ed, have you looked to see if there's some logistics software that can help you with that analysis?
Did not, but it's very difficult, that kind of, if I invent it, I'll make a fortune. But-
Yeah, I wonder though. I wonder.
But it's really sitting down with all the people to go over
Yeah.
each child and where are they.
Right. I wonder if somebody's gone through that and done it. They do it for all kinds of other logistic stuff. Right? You'd put a schedule in, I mean, who knows, but.
Well, I think it's more than the schedule, that's the challenge, but we could check into it. I mean, we definitely, we have our training later this week, so we could ask that question. The challenge is that it comes to the student needs, and it's a lot of the ancillary
Right.
things, like this person can't get along with this person, and
Right.
there's a lot of nuance.
And I just have to say this publicly. If there are any opportunities for consolidation, appropriate consolidation, I have complete confidence in our transportation department and you folks working together. I mean, that is one thing I know about our transportation. For some reason this year, I was a lightning rod for a variety of parents, and that's fine, about busing issues. And our transportation department bends over backwards to make sure families are accommodated and appropriately. And so I have complete confidence if there are opportunities that we can do some consolidation, I have complete confidence in that. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to
I'm just saying
publicly
that
say
given the developments of technology,
Right.
perhaps
I
there wasn't
appreciate
before in this, I mean, we're looking at using technology for personalized learning,
Right.
Yeah.
so it may be for
I'll check,
personalized transport.
we could check
I
with the
don't know.
bus company, yeah.
But,
Yeah,
right,
It's a good point.
But we're not gonna do anything that hurts a child or anything with it. There's no
I
way
know
of
that.
doing that.
I know that.
And again, Mary Ann,
Oh,
who works
amazing
at the,
woman.
she is really great,
Mary Ann Croce is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
really good. And she can do a lot of things, she's really good.
It's amazing.
And she makes good cookies. just
I
so
don't
you
know, I've never been the benefactor of her
Well,
cookies.
you gotta ask my wife.
Okay.
So, we'll go back to the operation, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Contingency still stays the same. You can see where we've taken the money from. Again, we reduced that contingency. And just give you an update on the athletic equipment. We put in the sound system at the football stadium. We're putting in, fixing up the sound system in the gymnasium. And this week, the high jump and the pole vault pits are gonna be ordered. We had to rebid the hurdles. I'm not a track star, so I did not put in, we have to have adjustable hurdles because of the women and the men, so you're gonna make when they fall or when they don't fall. So we have to rebid it, and the bids are due this week, this Thursday. So once that's done, everything will be ordered, and hopefully everything will be in before the track season starts. So that's good. We did have to, again, just those items, the cleaning contract, as Mark, there was one company, we eliminated, 2 companies, I think. Athletic training contract went up, and the irrigation, which we're taking care of, and so forth. So that stays the same. The second one is the benefits. Again, we're showing a slight decrease, but still a surplus of $251,000. That may go down again because of, there are still open positions, and once we fill those, then it'll be a closer number. The next one is tuition. As you can see, that is constantly going up. It's now at $668,000 deficit. We're getting new students in. We also receive bills from special ed magnet schools we get. That's about $116,000. We may not pay tuition to those magnet schools, but we do have to pay the special ed cost benefit on that. So those are mostly the items. Additional sped contracts since the last report. I don't know if you want to say anything about those contracts.
since the last operations meeting, we've had 2 additional outplacements. Hopefully, this number will not continue to increase. It is an account that we're constantly discussing and looking at. I think this number does not reflect a couple of returns to district because they were after the deadline. So, as you know, this account fluctuates. So we pay great attention to it. We want to ensure appropriate programming for our students, and we want to return them in district when appropriate as soon as possible.
We meet on a monthly,
I just have a question. Do you have a sense of what the excess cost sharing and state agency placement grants
well,
will
we'll know
be?
that by February. You know, I mean, ours is down because of 73% instead of last year, 76%. As you know, as the threshold goes up, our money goes down. Okay, so we have to be a bearer of that news when in February comes. A lot of districts I've been in contact with are having the same problem we are. Special ed costs are constantly moving up more than we anticipated.
And the reimbursement is going down.
Yeah.
Correct.
As-
That's my concern.
Yeah.
We also, as I've shared with the board, we've had an increase in enrollment this fall that in many instances the students came with significant needs that were either identified or emerging, which has required us to provide additional resources for those students.
And a couple of students have moved in from other districts, and now we're in charge of those. Yeah, and those were a couple of big ticket items.
Hold on, Jay, you had a question?
Thanks, Mike. The cut that the cut that the governor announced last a few weeks ago or so, it's like $250,000 or so.
Yep,
On this,
270.
is that have we reflected that in
That's
here?
not reflected because that money doesn't come to the Board of Education, that goes to the town.
Oh, it's to the town.
And remember, the mayor reduced our budget last year in anticipation of the fact that the governor was going to cut the budget this year. So he had already reduced
So
us.
this mid-year cut is
We,
that, but we're not, so we're not expecting that $250,000 cut's gonna affect us? this year?
at this time, it's going to affect the town.
Yeah,
At this time,
But
we,
not the Board
we
of
do
Ed's
not anticipating it affecting the
budget?
board. But again, if there's additional cuts that come, you never know. So we just always have to be mindful of that. We also received the over $300,000 cut in October when the state changed the spending cap for special education. So we lost 9% there, so when you take the 9% plus the 766, I think it is, it's almost $600,000, if not over $600,000 that we've lost since the first day of school.
The anticipated, if we do the 73%, right now, as of January 2nd, we're down about $50,000 just on the grant, okay, on the excess cost grant. Number 4 is transportation. Our surplus has gone down. Again, it reflects some magnet school transportation grant, which we're getting, and also some additional in-district and out-of-district special ed. That's why we're looking at that in-district. You know, that in-district is continuing to grow, so we're looking at the coordination of all those programs. So if we can, we're looking to reduce that, okay? That's, and today, we reduced 12,000 today, just on one student. So we're working that way. It's tough. It's not an easy thing to look at where the children are placed. The next one, salaries, which is a positive of 189,000. Our surplus in the certified salary is about $5,100. Our salaries in the non-certified is about 184,000. Again, we have a couple of contracts still out there, the custodial contract and the clerical contract. That may eat into some of that surplus once it's approved. But that's, so it's a good, we have the money there. The next one is unemployment. We're still projecting 125,000. We still have even though we haven't received the latest month, but last month, there was an increase in unemployment for a new person, and we figured that in, and we're still at a surplus of 125,000. The next one first one we're adding is the Medicare and Social Security projection of 11,000 surplus. We will recalculate this right after the 941s, which are due the end of this month, and we want to get those in quickly because we have to do all of our W-2s and so forth. This year's the first year where the state, federal, and everybody wants them by the 31st. Before you had a couple of weeks after, no, everybody wants it. So we've met with the contingent in my office and with Karen's help. Bob Morrison has worked on that to do with Munis and to get that ready to go. So we're running that. Hopefully we have another meeting next week to make sure everything is good, so we can run it and have no problems with the feds in the state on that. The last one is plant maintenance and utilities. We're looking right now as an overall surplus of 30,000. Our April report will indicate a better idea after the winter months. Right now, our electricity is looking great. Our oil is probably, but today's not too good, but I haven't looked at that. But our gas is a little higher than we anticipated right now. So I think once April comes in, we'll have a better anticipation of where we are. But right now, the electricity looks better than the gas operation. The gas operation, unfortunately, is constantly, their prices go up every month. So it's not beneficial to the school system on that one. So we're overall at 287,000. And we're looking at a possible, oh, no, that's it.
Yeah, we're just continuing to look at all the accounts. It's important for us to review them so that we're maintaining some level of security in the event that, again, like Jay said, that we are asked to assist in the reduction. So we're always looking at the accounts. The administrators have been very supportive of us as we move forward in that area.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question. Yes. Going back to the Lyman Hall High School irrigation meter, that's all been straightened out
Yes,
with, and that's going to be read on a more
correct.
Yes.
Right. We
We
have
got
an
confirmation.
frequent
agreement.
basis.
That's right, big enough.
And are we sure that there aren't any of these issues at any of the other schools?
We're getting billed for every other school, so.
Okay, I just want to
Yeah,
make
no,
sure
it's
that
good.
we don't get a surprise
No,
like
I
that
will
again.
contact them again, but we have an agreement that they're gonna come out and meet with our staff and go over those.
Okay, because that was a
Yeah, oh,
pretty
yeah,
surprising bill that we didn't anticipate.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, take consensus on the Board of Education financial report for December 2016, starting with Shawna.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, thank you very much. Now, what everyone, our big audience is here for, I think.
Actually,
Is
Mr.
this
Votto
start?
wants to just interject for a minute, and I would definitely. Are you on or not?
Yeah, I am. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the fact that this is Patty DeFilio's last meeting, I believe. After how many years, Patty? 30 years of taking minutes at operations meetings. I bet you could tell a lot of stories. And I think we all know that you're retiring, and we wish you a lot of luck and happiness and health in your retirement years, and we're going to miss you. And
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
we'll see you at your party tomorrow.
All right. There we go. All right, we're almost ready. I'm going to use the microphone. Is this on? All right. So thank you all for coming this evening to hear the presentation. What I want to make certain is that everyone at home, everyone in the room knows that this is just a presentation this evening. So you will have ample opportunity, as I've been emailing out to everyone in the district and parents throughout the community, that there is going to be a series of sessions to discuss this. We've kind of hit a Wednesday routine, so we have the 18th, the 25th. It'll continue to be shared. All those dates will continue to be shared with you as we move forward. I'm going to actually probably step over there and use the clicker so that I'm not in my board members' ways. Joe, I'm sorry, but you'll get a copy. The fact is that this will also be emailed out. The link to the budget presentation and a fact summary of the budget, like I do every year, will be emailed out to all members of our school community tomorrow morning, as well as put on our website and emailed out to all of our parents. I also would like to this year, like I just recently did with the teachers, send out a Google survey to parents if they have any recommendations or ideas based on the budget that'll help us inform our process. Again, I just want to state clearly, as we've stated with teachers and everyone, offering an idea is offering ideas. We have a process by which ideas either become part of the final outcome or might be an idea for another day. So I just don't want to feel that people feel that they don't have a voice or they don't believe their voice was heard, but not every voice can be heard in the process. I mean, it could be heard, but it's not going to always be incorporated in the final outcome. So I want to make sure that's clear and not to offend anyone. So again, we always start off with our mission and vision. I think they're very clear, that we want to try to make certain that we do what's best for all learners in our school, trying to make students have an opportunity to provide them with the personal best to achieve that, and working as a community. We work very closely to really make sure that our community of learners, including our students, our families, our teachers, our administrators, our board members, everyone in our community continues to grow and learn together. We have 4 focus areas that we've been really putting all of our attention to for the last 4 years. Our focus areas are the area of intervention, models of excellence, proactive student supports with a future focus, engaging, empowering learning experiences. As we go through the budget, and especially in our strategic plan budget, our areas focus on these. Our areas of focus become very clear and are further exemplified in the work that we're trying to do as a team. Those, again, who have been following the story of Wallingford for the last 4 years know that we have what's known as the Wallingford 100, 100% of community involvement, 100% student engagement to reach 100% student success. I usually start every budget presentation with a review of some of the statistics to show and celebrate the fact that we are making growth in this area, and these areas, and I want to do that this evening. Community involvement, when we talk about that, we have donations and grants and partnerships, students' engagement, we talk about attendance behavior and a discipline, and student success, graduation rates, advanced placement rates, scholarships, and awards. So just very quickly, when we look at our progress indicators in terms of donations, as many of you know, last year was a banner year of $245,585 donated to the Wallingford Public Schools in the area of goods, services, whatever it may be. Starting in 2009-10, we had $10,182 annually donated to the schools. So over the last 7 years, no coincidence, during my tenure, I went along with it, sorry. Have to be full disclosure, we've had close to $800,000 donated in goods and services to the school district. So I just wanted to bring that highlight, because that's the work of all of our parents, all of our educators in the room to bring these resources to the school that otherwise might not be able to provide some of the opportunities for our students. The other thing that we've really pushed are competitive grants. Last year we applied for the 11 grants. We were awarded 7, representing $550,776 in funding. That's very important to note, because Wallingford Public Schools is in an awkward position with our funding mechanism for grants. We don't always qualify for grants because we're not too rich, but we're not too poor. We're just in the middle. And as I always say, we're geographically, economically, and in terms of diversity, right in the middle of the state. And as a result, we, again, don't qualify for a lot of the grants. We do have well over $1 million of entitlement grants, Title I, Title II, Title III, and a lot of the other IDA grants that do subsidize some programming in our district. But this is really a tribute to so many different people in this community and in our schools. We have so many of our curriculum staff, and really this does end up on their backs. These grants, if we didn't have the curriculum staff that we have in our curriculum department to write the grants and work with the different constituents in the school district to write the grants, we wouldn't have this $500,000. So it's money well spent in the curriculum department on people to help provide us with those resources. We don't have a grant writer in our district. Many districts our size have official full-time grant writer. We don't have anyone. We work together. It's a very collaborative process at central office where a grant is put forth and then people are working together on it, trying to keep that one singular voice, but making sure that we're receiving all the benefits of the expertise of those individuals. Other progress indicators, again, we have all of our partnerships. I'm not going to read them through them with you, but again, we have tremendous community involvement in our district with such organizations as Chick-fil-A, as Ulbrich Steel, as Olenex, Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Midstate Medical, all of the different partnerships. 2-year attendance student rate, we're still at 96% daily attendance, which is high in the state. Actually, I had the opportunity to meet with people from the state legislature this summer regarding our student attendance as well as our discipline rates, because we've seen a drop in our discipline rates, which is good, and we've seen an increase in our student attendance, which obviously is very good. So they wanted to kind of figure out what we were doing differently in Wallingford. You'll see the behavior and discipline comparison from August to December for the last 3 years. You'll see some positive trends here. There's always blips, but for overall, you'll see that the total number of referrals and incidents of discipline during those same periods of time over the last 3 years has decreased. Graduation rates, these do look kind of funny because they're exactly the same for 2 years in a row. I've questioned the state on this. We don't have last spring's yet. They haven't been validated, so I couldn't put them out because they have yet to be released. They're embargoed. But again, we're seeing that positive trend of our graduation rate increasing while our rigor increases for students also, so 91.4%. Our adult education graduation rates, those took a major jump this past year. 96% of our students in adult education graduated from prior year was only 76%. So we're very pleased at the increase there and working to continue to sustain those because, again, that talks about that whole Wallingford 100. It doesn't just mean the students who are graduating from our schools, but also experiencing success in alternate routes to success throughout their careers or throughout their lives as Wallingford citizens and residents. Advanced placement, you'll notice that, again, there's 64 more students that took the test this year, so we had increased. The score, there was about 2% less earned the score point of 3 or more. So we had a little dip there, more students taking it, so you probably can say that there was a correlation, more students, a little dip, probably if you aggregate it out would be about the same that we were last year. Early college credits, you'll note that we have 634 more than last year. So the credits that were earned by students prior to leaving our schools to go to college, to carry those credits with them, help saving their parents and themselves money. There was over 1,200 credits earned during the high school years, up 634 more than last year. 76 students inducted into the National Honor Society. That was 6 more than last year, and 104 students as varsity scholars, which was 51 more than the previous year. So we're seeing some increases there, and then you'll notice the plans for after high school, and I want to thank our guidance coordinator, Melissa Isles, for working on this, our counseling coordinator, I should say, for helping pull this together with her staff, getting some of this data that we previously had not had access to. Really trying to pull together a clearer picture of where our students end up and making sure that we have plans for our students. That was always the goal, as I shared with the board last spring. Our career specialists at both high school were going out and they were pulling kids in who they wanted to make sure had a plan in place. We didn't want a student leaving our schools without having a plan in place. Scholarships were down a little bit last year. But overall, over almost $350,000 worth of scholarships were awarded to our high school students. So results from last year, and I'm getting a neck ache by standing over on that side, so we'll try this side for now. So results from last year, sorry, Cindy. You've seen this before, I know, a few times. She probably could, we were actually gonna let you do it. Yeah, she gave me the look. All right. So town council last year, we were appropriated or approved budget of 2.32%. You'll note that our sustained services when we started was a 3.45. Our strategic plan was an additional 1.03. So we submitted to the mayor a 4.48. The mayor then and the town council approved a 2.32. So approximately a little bit over 2% was reduced from our initial request. As we move forward, historical budget analysis, again, this is what was proposed and town approved going back from 2008. You'll notice that this flows right in line with the economics of our state and nation. There were some high years prior to my arrival, which I'm disappointed that I didn't see the 4.45. That would have been nice at that point. But as we gradually went through, we did pick up a little steam. This was a correction year, the 2012-2013, because there was the federal funds that were added to our budget. And then we've seen on average over the last 3 years about a 2.5% or 2.25. The main outcomes from last year, I don't want to read these all to you, but we were able to sustain our educational programming. We were able to hire a health and wellness curriculum resource teacher, which has been phenomenal. He's come and spoken to the board several times, Tony Loomis. He's our facilitator with the Wallingford Health Improvement Plan, as well as the Coalition for a Better Wallingford, and he's working very closely with all of our staff. We were able to use local and state grant funding to get our 2 additional Smart Start classrooms for pre-K opened at both Moses Y and at Highland. Hired 4 full-time instructional coaches, 2 English language arts and 2 math. I have to say that these are individuals that have come to the board again several times, at least 3 times, shared the data that we will in turn share with staff, because I think some of our staff who might not have asked for the assistance yet of an instructional coach, we need to get them out there, because that's the point of them. The instructional coaches are to go out to teachers who need that extra support or maybe a little bit of additional learning about a new topic. So we want to share that information with them, but they have been very effective, and we've shared with the board on numerous occasions, again, the data that supports their positions. Eliminated math curriculum resource teacher. We did cut 1 person from the curriculum resource department. Eliminated superintendent's clerk. Retirement, we did not replace a position. And we eliminated the community liaison position. Those were the things that were the main outcomes from last year. But the key thing is we always start with that we were able to sustain all of our programs, which was key based on a little over a 2% budget increase. We did use the 1% account for targeted expenditures in technology and maintenance as the board approved. And we also were able to get some items for potential bonding from the mayor, and then also some of the CRRA money, which we like to affectionately call the trash money, which helped us move the district forward in some of our maintenance areas. So again, most of you know the process. We look at our drivers, we look at our enrollment. We this year looked at our SWOT analysis from last year to see what we could potentially pull off of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis that were done across the district and participated in upon by a variety of groups of people, parents, teachers, administrators, and developed sustained services budget and then strategic plan budget. Obviously, our drivers, contractual increases, insurance increases, and transportation contract. I probably could put up here this year, but I put a whole slide for it, is special education. And I hate doing that. I haven't done that in my now 8 years presenting a budget to you. Identified a group, but that group has really risen to a high level of concern this year in terms of making sure that we're providing adequate programming, but it has also increased our budget. And we've been fortunate to avoid that in the past, but this year has been a challenge. Our enrollment, you'll notice that this year we were projecting 6,001. We have 5,965 as of Friday. I'll explain the decrease. The decrease was we had projected an enrollment at the Ag Science Center of 354, and we actually have enrolled 290. There was a decrease in students who committed versus those who had decided to attend. So the Ag Science program has put together an opportunity to increase matriculation, which they're calling the Ag Pals program. So if students commit to the Ag Science program, they're assigned a peer mentor that is someone who's already in the Ag Science program to meet with them during that transition period. Students start applying to Ag Science now. They get accepted, but then there's that gap between the end of the year and then all the way over the summer where if they're coming from other districts, they see their friends, they have a good time, they decide not to show up on the first day. So Rebecca Rose, the director of our Ag Science program, has worked with her staff to really try to make sure that we develop a program so that once those students commit, they actually attend our schools.
Do you want us to hold questions or ask as we go, or what do you want us to do?
I guess if we want to pause here, we could pause here if you have specific
I
questions.
think, were you asking for us to wait until Wednesday night with our?
Yeah, but I mean, if
Oh,
there's
okay,
a, if there's a,
I can wait.
are you sure?
I wrote it down.
Okay, all right. Notice Jay's sweatshirt.
Oh, no.
Oh, you want to get out of here.
All right, I'm
But if you
just
see somebody
teasing.
else
No, but
with orange
I guess I do.
Tony,
Can I
is that
just ask
Clemson
one?
orange?
Yeah, sure, you may ask one.
Philosophical question.
Clemson orange?
I mean, at some point, is Board of Ed, are we getting like any?
You're gonna get the document, but this is 118 pages, and I figured
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
budget, it probably wasn't a good thing to give you a copy. So you're gonna get your
Right.
budget books on Wednesday.
That's what I wanted to
Yep.
know. Thank you.
I was gonna finish with that.
Yep.
But I'll
I'm
lead with
quiet.
it. It's
I will be
okay.
quiet.
My big announcement, that's my big announcement, because I know people are here tonight before my big
Yeah, well, I
announcement,
was
that the
expecting the
budget
gift.
books are coming on Wednesday. That, and that I'm leaving to become a stand-up comedian. That's a joke. Wishful thinking on part of some, but a joke. So we revised the SWOT analysis to look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that were presented to us last year. As I said, we had teachers, we had administrators, we had parents. We worked with some of our high school students in our Chick-fil-A group, pulling together this opportunity. So what we felt we needed to do is that we needed to look at our midterm and our short-term opportunities. We had come up with short-term, midterm, and long-term, and we wanted to look at our midterm and long-term opportunities because in putting together our sustained services budget, we recognized that we were in a tough position this year. So the midterm projections that we've identified as reductions that we're taking initially, this is already factored into the sustained services number that you will see shortly, is we're eliminating the central office receptionists that we have at central office. We're eliminating our second HVAC technician. That position has not been filled, so it will not be a displacement of anyone. There are no teachers up here, so Jim, you don't have to crane. Reduce middle school library media clerks from 11 to 10 months. Reduce high school library media clerks from 12 to 10 months. Reduce high school attendance clerks from 12 to 10 months. And eliminate part-time attendance clerk at Sheehan High School. Again, these came up through the discussions we had last year and the data collection that we collected in terms of potential efficiencies. So these have all been factored in to the initial budget that's being presented this evening. The long-term reductions that we're also taking at this time, reducing elementary secretaries from 12 to 11 months, and reducing Lyman Hall School clerk from 12 to 10 months. So again, with the philosophy of trying to keep the reductions as far from the students as possible, knowing the hard work of all of our clerical staff that it does impact students, it's only natural that we would assume that it would impact them, but looking at these as our initial layer of reductions to get a sustained services budget that we felt we could present to you this evening. We also are recommending enrollment reductions at Wintergreen Magnet School and Thomas Edison based on the 3-year average. So we're looking to drop Wintergreen from 60 spaces to 55, and from Thomas Edison from 20 to 17. So that's already been taken in our sustained services budget. We are statutorily permissible and it's allowable for us to do that. Those are the 3-year trends. Developed initial sustained services budget. Again, we looked at all of our different accounts. We reduced our teachers sub-account, reduced unemployment, We looked at a variety of different areas. We also looked at certified and non-certified. We have a retirement savings that we did not reinvest, we cut. So there's no reinvestment like last year. This is a pure cut. $328,779 for certified staff, and we're reducing IT teacher summer work hours, which is a financial savings. We also are reducing eliminating 2 elementary IT para-educators, and also IT summer clerical work hours will be reduced. This was the challenge. These are the additions. Those were the reductions, which are well over $300,000 worth of reductions. But the additions are in the area of special needs students at $716,210. So you can understand the need for us to look at the midterm and long-term efficiencies earlier in the process rather than later because of this large increase in need for our students in our district. Benefits, at present time, we're estimating 8% increase in health insurance. We are hopeful that that's going to drop, and we will know more within the next week and a half on that. Severance benefits that have to be paid out, we do have $360,850 to certified staff, and we have $109,168 to non-certified staff. This is our revenue projection. These are our revenue projections as we look at the revenue for special education. So we have, again, the actual versus estimated. At the present time for next year, we're budgeting 74.5%. Well, again, these numbers may be adjusted over time, which usually that's something that throughout our process, usually March, April, May, we get better numbers. We're able to come back to you. But this is what we get for state funding. And again, in this year's climate, this could go either way. Our water increase is 6%. These are numbers that are required for us to adjust based on the town's information. So 6% for water, 6% for sewer, 6.33% for electricity. The oil is an increase of is 2 cents per gallon. And then the natural gas will basically, we're moving to the whole season on that. So we're hopeful that, but again, it's volatile, as Ed said, so it's not necessarily a good thing. It could also put us in a deficit. We did try to provide a 2.5% increase to maintenance. They've been level funded for 2 years, the previous 2 years, so we needed to give them a little increase to help move forward in the area of maintenance. Transportation, we did reduce the student day the transportation contract by 1 student day, as was in the teacher's contract, and we also reduced the Wintergreen Magnet School 9 student days because that was voted on. So we made the appropriate adjustment for transportation. And as I said earlier, we conducted a survey for teachers, and we'll be conducting a survey for parents. But we also did have a parent session prior to the budget development in November. So at this present time, we're presenting to you a 3.15% sustained services increase. The budget, as represented, you'll see that the majority of the increase, if you look at percentage-wise, the majority of the increase is at professional technical services. Much of that ties into the needs for our students with disabilities. But again, the overall sustained services budget increase is a 3.15%. Again, last year we presented a 3.33, so we are a little bit lower. We took into consideration the additional reductions that had come into play. At least we're not back to my first year, have to say. Felt good about that, but that was a whole different time. Again, the main drivers, we have contractual, outside professionals, plant and maintenance, transportation tuitions, tuition rather, and supplies and heat. So I'll pause there for a minute. Any initial questions?
I've got a.
Well, I'll pause, because I don't want to leave anybody without.
Wait,
Are you sure?
I'll wait till Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
If she's waiting, I'll wait.
Oh, ooh, it's a challenge. Okay. All right. All right. So, as you know, we always put out the next 2 years of budgets. We use the same assumptions as we have in the past. They actually have been very accurate. When you aggregate the percentages across all the items, it does come out to be a fairly accurate projection. So when we do so, this year would be a 3.15. Next year, if we were to sustain services with assumptions, would be a 3.46. And the following year would be a 3.62. Again, that's not necessarily giving you more than just a global picture in terms of where we would be if we were to fund a 3.15 at this time. So our strategic plan, what I wanted to share with you tonight is that at the beginning of each section, I've kind of identified some key areas of focus. We're not going to go through each page like we traditionally don't do that until we get to one of our budget sessions. So I'll go through the key focus areas so that you'll at least know what the items consist of. And then you'll have an opportunity to look at more detail when you get your full budget book. In addition, I have at the end of the strategic plan section this year, I have included a prioritized list of the top 25 combined priorities based on our central office conversation. Again, I'm not trying to do anything other than to move the process to a point where I think we really, really are at a place where there's a tremendous amount of information. So you'll get your budget books again on Wednesday. Our next meeting on the budget is not till next Wednesday, the 18th. So that's why I want to give you that full week. You're getting this Wednesday, and then I'll respectfully ask for questions by Monday, so then we have time to respond, so we'll be prepared on Wednesday night. Okay, so you have the long weekend, actually. So by Monday or by Tuesday morning, all right, because I know in your highly paid positions as volunteers. Sorry. Exactly. That added. I should add you guys to that. We'd be well over $500,000. Okay, so with that said, again, we all know that our goal is that the strategic plan is to meet all these areas, to engage stakeholders, to focus our vision, to inform the use and allocation of resources, and then to keep this education at the center of everything we do. And I think we really try to make this an effort of ours as a school district. We have our 5 areas, which again, I know most of you know by the back of your hand, but we have community outreach and partnerships, we have curriculum instruction, district climate, facilities, and technology, the 5 areas of our strategic plan. So again, we started with the sustained services for each other area, and then we added our strategic plan recommendations. You'll notice the color coding is intentional because when you get to the prioritization, you'll be able to notice the colors, and when you go back to the prioritization sheet, I already kind of tried to be one step ahead. So in terms of communication, partnerships, and community outreach, this is Cindy and my area. It's very short and to the point. We're really this year requesting the continuation of the discussion about family resource centers. 1 family resource center for each side of the town. So you'll notice that that's the one main recommendation this year. In the future, we are looking at some other areas of continuing the family resource center conversation at the 3-5 level, and then the following year at the middle school level. So this fall would be 1 pre-K2 at either side of town if we were fortunate enough to get that funded. We also put up a new item, which came out of our strategic planning sessions, was a communication specialist or somebody to help in that area, because there is a tremendous amount of communication. We're not recommending that for the fall, so no one has to worry. But down the line, if that's something, Cheshire has one, Southington has one, Meriden has at least one. So it's not an uncommon opportunity. And since we did cut our community partnership liaison, a lot of the work of that individual has fallen now in different segments. So again, the request though, just to recap, for this year for community outreach and partnerships is to continue the discussion around a pre-K2 family resource center, one on either side of town. Curriculum and instruction, a little bit more granular and more detailed, as you could imagine. So goal 1, which is students will master foundational skills and knowledge at every level for their education. We would really want to reinvestigate the early childhood coordinator. We talked about that last year. Now that we are up to educating close to 300 pre-K students in our district, someone to help facilitate that in a more coordinated effort. Additional instructional coaches. We also are looking to increase additional interventionists at the 3-5 school. Convert world language curriculum resource teacher into the coordinator. We talked about the rationale behind that is because of the evaluation still. That's still an ongoing thing that we're chipping away at. I know that isn't always necessarily understandable on the part of all facets of our community, of learners in our district as well as the broader community. But an evaluator, and I remember what Jay, I don't remember the number exactly, but I know when we were sharing that most of our administrators are evaluating anywhere from 20 to 30 individuals. I remember you saying that was really high, and then on average, I don't remember what the number was. It was like 8 to 10 individuals. So again, I know that that's not something that necessarily plays well with every audience, but that is an area of concern. New grade 5 social studies research lab techs, so we're trying to move forward with the curriculum in that area.
What's research lab?
It's the document for that grade 5 curriculum, so it's the textbook. It's basically dealing with the curriculum in grade 5. Students will be excellent communicators, so we want to look to provide professional development for Readers and Writers Workshop. That is a key focus area of ours in our district. Students will learn and develop their competencies for working independently with others. We want to look at, again, we had talked a lot about the Junior Bridge Academy last year. Unfortunately, it didn't get funded, and we do believe that that's a very important piece. The high school Bridge Academy has been very successful. We believe that bridge from 5th to 6th grade is equally as important. Assist with student transition, as we said, to 5th to 6th. And then we were looking at students will be highly prepared for their next challenge in school and life, expand adult education programming. There was some opportunities that we have in our strategic plan to look to increase the offerings for our adult learners. So these are the documents behind it. I'm not going to go through each of these. You know what I'll explain for people watching, just that you understand at home what the document looks like when you pull it up on our website under the budget tab for 2017-18. But you'll have your area, so your curriculum and instruction, the goal that is connected to it, and then you'll have your 2016-17 if there was a request, if there was anything allocated, and then your request for the next 3 years. So 17-18, 18-19, 19-20. The color coding, this is a reoccurring expense, the green. And then you have your deferred expense, which is your blue. And then your CRA, or unencumbered fund usage. And you'll find that one most likely in the area of technology as well as facilities, because those are for one-time expenditures. So I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll go through these because, again, I don't expect. So we get to district climate. Goal 1, all staff will feel respected and included in school and community. So we had asked last year for funding to increase climate activities for schools. So that, again, is one of our requests. Goal 4, all students will be educated in effective problem solving so that they experience fairness in their interactions with all members of the school community. So that was additional responsive classroom activities, especially at the middle school level, which they've been doing a great job there at the middle school. Goal 5, students will feel that they are in a safe, healthy learning environment that respects differences. So this is an area that you're going to see something new added. You'll see 2 deans of students, elementary schools. The elementary schools, again, these are strategic plan. So these are in reference to the fact that we have rising behavioral challenges at our elementary schools that oftentimes do pull our administrators, who are the sole person in the building, away from their instructional responsibilities, such as observing a teacher. or dealing with a parent that might have an issue that they need to address. So looking at one person for either side of the town to provide a little additional support. And these people would not be, they would be in the administrators union, but they would be a new category, which would be below any other category in the union. It would be above a teacher's salary, but it would be only above the teacher's salary a nominal amount. So we see this as an opportunity also to grow leadership potential in some of our staff that don't have the ability to do so. So we see this as offering support for the elementary staff and students and families, but also as an opportunity to create another layer of growth for our future leaders in our system. And the last one on here, which we all know unfortunately was not moved forward last year, which were the two school resource officers that we would continue to support as a school district, to incorporate those, one for either side of town, to go in between the middle schools and the high schools. I do have to say that the police department has provided a tremendous amount of additional presence in our schools, and we're appreciative of that. However, I believe that it is the feeling of our administrative team that this is something that we can seriously look at, and I know that if we continued maybe collaborating with the police, which I know that we're trying to set up a meeting within the next week, to look at their budgets and their surpluses that they sometimes may have to try to accommodate these services for our students, that might be helpful. So again, these are just the documents to support that. Facilities. Now this is this is the one that gets, there's a lot to this, so I'm going to take this a little slower. We have the relationship with the mayor that was established now 3 years ago, where if there's an item that's over $15,000 and has a life expectancy of 20 years, and so some of you might immediately think to a certain large ticket item that's not too far from here, outside, gets a lot of wear and tear. It doesn't have a life expectancy of 20 years. So that's where it falls, but we are trying to put it in that category and continue to have conversations. What I'm talking about is a Sheehan Field. So we're trying to move in that direction, but we're seeing. So these were the parameters that the mayor had established with us, which we were very pleased that we had this opportunity. What I have for you here, and this is chart, I will also just share with you what the columns represent, because this is a document that I really, I know many board members and many community members will like to look at. What this does is it provides you a description of the item. I'm sorry. It provides you when it was initially allocated, because we had phase 1 and phase 2, and we're working on phase 3. So the work, the money was allocated in the fall, and then the work would take place the following year just because of the bid process. So we have allocated in 2014-15, commencing work in 15-16, then taking it out a year, commencing work in 16-17, and then our request, which the work would start in the fall of 17-18, is in that column and then beyond. So, and then you have on the other color coding on the side is yellow, not complete, and green, complete. I have to say that I have to give the maintenance department a tremendous amount of credit. There is a lot of work that has been improved over the last 2 years. The challenge is getting all of the work done, not necessarily because of manpower, but again, because of the process of going out to bid, getting the bids back, and going through the process that is necessitated by the town. We're working very collaboratively, so that's not that's not a negative comment towards the town. It's just a process, because there's a tremendous amount of work, as you could see, as I go through these slides, a tremendous amount of work. And when you get to the bottom, you'll note that the first year, the mayor approved $3.6 million. For this year, $3.1 million, and we're requesting next year $980. I have a larger slide that compiles all of this in the future slides. So again, over the last 2 years, it's been over $6.7 million. Could you go back a couple slides? Sure.
Yeah, I don't feel like that reflects the addition of, to get to your 3 million. That's what Oh, I missed those. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Well, I just didn't see it. Yeah, never mind.
So there's a lot of one of the larger projects that we're working on right now, that's Mark's working on right now, is the window replacement at several of our elementary schools. We're still working on the stage lighting replacement at our 2 middle schools and 2 high schools. So there's a tremendous amount of work that we've been very fortunate that's been funded, but it is a tremendous amount of work, and there's a lot of specifications and bids that have to go out regarding this, which is the appropriate thing to do, of course. So I wanted to make sure we gave a recap, and I do want to thank Mark and his clerical support, Bev Summers, for helping to keep this going. This is in a Google Doc, so it's an active doc, so it's constantly being added to. It's in the Google, as Mark calls it. The other things that we have, of course, we have our, oops. Ooh, I can get a workers' comp. No, sorry. It was joke. All right, safety guidelines. That was kind of timely. Alrighty. I'm not doing my stand-up here. Parker Farms, we have the oil tank, we have Sheehan. Some might say, why is that a safety guideline? I asked Mark, and it is a hazard.
It's mandated.
It's mandated.
Goal 1 addresses all mandated needs, not just things that necessarily aren't physical safety items.
So these are all mandated. So when you see on your the document, which I'll show you, it'll have the M in it because we have the S and the M for the safety and the mandates. So we have asbestos abatement and then sealing. There's capital not for bonding. Again, these do not meet the mayor's criteria, but they're large items. So we just listed some of these, and this is a prioritized list that Mark put together in terms of really his top 10 or so items. Goal 3 is safe, secure learning environment. This deals with some of our safety issues that have been addressed either through our safety audits of our building in collaboration with the police and the fire, as well as working with our school administration. So we have, again, these are just some of the priority lists. We have Cook Hill fencing on playgrounds, again, Highland fencing around Playscape. So you'll see a trend here. It's really trying to look at some of the safety areas. Ceiling wall fans, replace door locks, lighting, Pond Hill resurface rear asphalt, Stevens repair rear sidewalk leading, there should be no check next cafeteria, near cafeteria, and then lock set standardization. So again, you'll see the M's, as Mark alluded to. So those are all mandates in goal 1. So those are items we have to move forward to. But you'll notice a lot of work is being accomplished too. That color, that peach color, represents work that's being done based on an unencumbered fund balance. So we do have a tremendous amount of work that's been going on in maintenance, be it through the bonding and also through Board of Ed funding. So that keeps Mark a very active person with his staff. And again, I just can't thank them all enough for the hard work that they do. Again, I'm not going to go through all these slides, but you'll notice that there are some S's for safety. So this is goal 2, which represents about $1.4 million of requests in strategic plan items for the fall. Goal 3 is a little over $500,000. Goal 4 is $51,000. Goal 5 is the furniture one, which we're actually going to be able to take some furniture that continues to be donated and start parsing it out to schools, which is a good thing. But there's still a significant amount of $100,000. We allocated $50,000, a little over $50,000 last year. Oops. So school facilities, this is a summary when we look at our request. This year we're requesting almost $2.3 million for additional school facilities in our strategic. And then along the bottom is the capital. Those are the capital summary items that we requested of the mayor. Technology, which when we do go over the strategic plan budget, which will most likely be either next week or the week after. We'll start with technology because I promised Karen Vayu on camera, on film, that we go backwards. And actually, Roxanne, you reminded her on camera, on film, to do that. So we're going to make sure we go backwards just because I want to be true to my word. But technology, we have elementary classroom projection systems, Chromebook refresh for middle schools, high schools, computer replacement cycle, which we're going to continue to do, Snap software, and then looking at IT support staff, and Karen will go into more detail, but looking to increase the district level IT support staff to go out to schools to do break fix and work on solutions. So again, initial request for goal 1 is $172,000 for next year, and a goal 3 is just around $500,000. Karen has her graphs, which we can go back to talk about the different age of the computers. I know that we're making some progress here in terms of some of the computers. The challenge is that we have this 5-year column that we have to continue to look at. And then the staff laptops, which I know we had an influx of new purchases over the last 2 years. And then student devices, the Chromebooks. So what does it all mean financially? The strategic plan budget for the first year is $4 million. So $4,663,950 added to the sustained services. And again, we know that this is our first glance at this. The following year, for 2018-19, the requests are $3.4 million, and for 19-20 is $3.5 million.
Wait, where are the, okay.
So when we look at the percentages, if we combine the sustained services request with the strategic plan request, the total request would be 7.26%, which again, we understand, this is a starting point. We have to be respectful for all the people who put the work into it and put the ideas together. Next year, the 18-19 would be a 6.68, and the following year, 19-20, would be 6.84. So what's coming? What are the coming attractions? We're going to continue to review insurance, review our special ed expenditures, review transportation, monthly projections, grants, anything that we could do there, looking at our allocations, and then reviewing bids. Again, we know that the financial climate, not only in the town, but also the state and nationally, we don't know where nationally it's going to go until after a few months into our new administration. But we definitely know that we have to be realistic, and that's why with our sustained services, that's why, again, we went to our midterm and long-term efficiencies, and we reduced those at the present time. If you think about it, going back to that number, you saw the increase in services that we need to provide to students to make sure that they have appropriate education in our system, which was over $700,000. You also have to take into effect that we lost $300,000 of funding this year. You take those together, that's over $1 million, which is 1% of our budget. So our sustained services budget would be only a 2.15, which is pretty good. So again, we can't take those away because those are the reality, but there definitely is a reason for why we are where we are, and it's a reason that we will work together to overcome. It's an opportunity for us to continue to investigate new outcomes. I would like to say that we did, as the board approved back in October, participating in our lean workshops. We had our first workshop last Thursday. We have our second workshop this Thursday, which will identify our Kaizen event, or events, which will be coming up later this month, beginning of February. So again, the timing to look at efficiencies. Now I have to say also, and I know many people on the board know this, but the community, lean doesn't mean doing less or more with less. It means being more efficient. Now, efficiency saves time, saves energy, should increase the productivity as well as culture and climate. Sometimes it does lead to cost savings. It doesn't always lead to cost savings initially. So I just want to make sure everybody doesn't think that, we're going through these lean workshops and that means that we're going to lay off 50 people. That's not what this means. Lean actually means learning more about what you do in your organization and then trying to take it to the next level. So that's our goal in that area, and we have a variety of focus areas that are emerging through those conversations. So again, final numbers are sustained is a $101,845,154, which is a 3.15 increase. And if you add the strategic plan, it's $105,909,104, a 7.26. Again, I understand this number is large. I am not standing here tonight saying that this is the number that we're going to be moving forward to the mayor. But I do have to say that, as all of you know, this is a collaborative process of pulling this together. We listen to many constituents. We have to honor their voice. We are a community. This is not a one-person organization. This is a community, so we want to make sure we do that. This is the infamous prioritization, which will be included in your budget book. As always, we have the running tally, starting with the 3.15, and these are the prioritized items. They're color-coded by area. Blue stands for curriculum instruction. The hot pink stands for community outreach and partnerships. The orangey color stands for district climate. The green is technology, and the yellow is maintenance. So what we've done is I took the top 25. So you'll notice you start with a 3.15, gradually going down to the, to the 25th, which brings us to a 5.17. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 35. I went down, I went, 5.0 is 25, I apologize. Sure. So again, our priorities based on what we did last year, based on the focus areas. This goes back to the focus areas, looking at our early literacy, our intervention services. We have your early childhood coordinator, which is our #1 priority as an administrative team. Increasing coaches is our 2nd priority. Increasing interventionists is our 3rd priority. Family Resource Center is our 4th priority. 5th priority is Junior Bridge Academy. Then we get into the resource officers and the deans at the elementary school. And then behavior tech support for elementary. And then we move down to other areas. And actually, there's one modification that we're still yet to make on this, so we'll modify it before you get this document. Yep. Sure.
The oil tank replacement, why doesn't that qualify for the mayor?
What does it?
The oil tank. It's $80,000, and it certainly should last more than 20 years, right?
The life expectancy of a tank right now is 20 years. That's
Well, that meets it.
when you
20
replace
years?
them. But
20
the-
years?
The problem with that project is there's a possibility of soil contamination, and we just don't know until we start the project where that's going to go. So that's a little up in the air. It is something that we could ask for their assistance on, but I can't attach a really accurate number to that job, which is, it's not the way I normally operate, but that job could swing 100% based on contamination. We do have some issues with that tank and the oil supply to the boiler room, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if we find contamination on that site.
Right, but I just don't understand why that wouldn't qualify for bonding through the mayor.
They would normally want to have a fairly accurate estimate of what job's going to cost
okay.
before we go forward.
So it's one of those, to answer your question again, and I don't know if your mic is on, you got to look for the red dot.
It is.
Okay. The thing is that, to just reiterate what Mark said, is that this will be one that we'll continue to monitor. If it does fall into the category where it goes over the threshold and it is deemed to be appropriate, then we'll add it to our list for our conversation with the mayor. So that one we definitely will monitor. So again, I'm sorry, Mike.
I assume because
Could you use the microphone? I just don't want to get,
I assume that the mandated ones, we obviously have time for, or they would have been on the top, right?
correct. And we also are looking, again, I have to be honest, and we talked about this at central office, that these items, as we've done in the past, we probably would want to carve out and try to use unencumbered fund balance or the 1% account.
All right.
So that's really what we were looking at. And I think we've kind of been down this road together where that would be our normal process.
We have 1%.
If we have 1%, correct. Correct. So again, our goal would be, as we move forward over the next 2 meetings, to spend our time focused on first, next Wednesday night, answering any initial questions that I will get from all of you by Tuesday morning. Then we will go through the sustained services budget. So we'll go through section 4 of the book, which is the narrative piece where we take each of the line items, the 100 and all the different accounts, and we'll see where we are at that point. And if the board is desiring, we can move into the strategic plan discussion and priorities, or each area, whatever you choose to do. As I mentioned again at the outset of the meeting, is that I would really highly recommend that our work this year be really spent later in the process. I think the beginning of the process, there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and I think that we need to be mindful of that, work together, but I'm not certain that it is going to benefit us by trying to unnecessarily, or at the beginning of the process, reduce our budget to a great extent. Not that we're going to give a 7.7% increase to the mayor, but I think we could come up with a reasonable number, and then we have a lot of things that we can work on. And I would recommend that as we move forward, that the board just really give the central office staff recommendations of where you would like us to look, so that when we do have our percentage number, we'll be prepared to share that information. Because it is a unique year, I think, with the long session in the legislature. We might not have a state budget until June, or even July, for that matter. So I'm a little concerned about doing our process as we traditionally do. Not that we wouldn't do our process where we'll do our due diligence, but I think our order of operations might have to change this year. But again, that's for you as a board to decide. That's just what I'm hearing from a lot of my colleagues across the state, that there's just so much uncertainty at the state level and also the national level. So the rest of the document really is kind of a summary.
So just really
sure
quickly,
you're on.
Yes, I'm on. I think I'm on. Wait a minute. I'm on. So next Wednesday, do you anticipate your sustained service numbers changing much? I mean, I know you're waiting on insurance, honing on some
Next
numbers,
Wednesday,
but-
there might be a minor change here
Right.
or there
So that's
based on
pretty-
special education.
You're pretty comfortable that
The
you're-
following Wednesday, we'll probably see a change if there's going to be one, because the insurance meeting is in between next Wednesday and the following Wednesday.
So that's the only item that's really outstanding for you, is really honing in on the insurance numbers.
At this point, that's the only piece of data,
Okay,
correct?
thanks.
We're still looking at other elements.
Right.
Internally,
but, I mean,
but-
external factors.
Correct.
There really aren't any except insurance, possibly.
Correct.
Thanks.
Correct. So that's the presentation for this evening. I appreciate, I want to just, before I conclude, I do want to thank all of the central office staff, our administrators, our teachers for their input. We had close to 200 teachers who provided feedback. I want to appreciate, or I should say staff members, not just teachers. It was sent to all staff in our district. But I want to thank everyone for their hard work and their support. This is not an easy job. This is not an enviable job, as you know. But it was trying to be a respectful first step in this process for our community as we move forward in this budget season. So we thank you. Again, you'll get your budget books on Wednesday, and I'll put a note on the front of it that'll request all questions to me by Tuesday mornings. Then we can work Tuesday and Wednesday in preparation for Wednesday evening's presentation. Bless you. True. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My job's easy because I don't have to ask if there's questions, because it should.
Yeah.
I have a question, though. I guess it's for kind of the entire board and Sal. Next Wednesday, is it possible to do 6:30? I just have another meeting that ends at 6.
Actually, we might have to do 6:30 because we
Okay.
also we might start a special, we'll send out information. We're looking to have a follow-up to our instructional committee meeting from last Tuesday, if we recall, next Wednesday. So we're going to do that prior to the budget discussion because we have to make some decisions for the 23rd of January if we're moving forward with the changes.
Okay.
So what are you thinking? Doing instruction at 6 and then directly after that do
Immediately
operations?
following operations, correct.
Any other questions? Okay, meeting's adjourned. Go watch the game.
Get out.
Oh, well, that's important.
Time to get home.